Good afternoon and welcome to Healthy Lifestyle. I'm Lori Anne Casdia. Our goal here at Healthy Lifestyle is to inspire, educate, and empower others to fulfilling a healthy, emotional, spiritual, and physical life so you can feel empowered to live the life you always wanted and dreamed. I truly believe and have a strong feeling and belief that we are here to serve each other. And I am definitely driven by a desire to leave the world better than the one we inherited and relish the opportunity to make a difference one person at a time. Today we have our guest and my friend Vince Perratta. He's in the financial business, but we're not going to talk about finances today unless he'd like to. We're going to talk about a host of different topics that I think you're going to enjoy. So if you have any questions, please email me at healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. And of course, like us on Healthy Lifestyle with LA. Follow us, and we'll give you updates, more information, and always how to get in contact with our guests. Vince, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lori Anne. Nice to be here.
I'm glad you're here. So let's talk about something that I know is really important to you and kind of deep in your heart and soul. Your non-for-profit that you support.
Long Island Cares is the charity that's very special for my family and myself. My family, I'm first-generation American, and coming to this country, we always felt that if you had enough to eat and a place to live, that was a really, really important thing that brought the family together. So Long Island Cares really touches me because it's that opportunity to help other folks to get a meal, to be able to sit together and share that family moment. And unfortunately, as fortunate as we are to be on Long Island, there's a lot of folks that's a bit of a challenge. And Long Island Cares does such a wonderful job of making food available. And they even have a really wonderful program that extends to veterans on certain days. So they reach well beyond what you could expect. And it's nice that when you give something, it's not money that you worry about where it is. It's food, and it will get to the folks that need it. That's good.
That's good stuff. Giving back, it's really important. Really, really important. I know. I know that bringing up my children, giving back was like definitely a staple in our house. It was a necessity. Same philosophy that your family has. I'm second generation. It still counts, but my parents' family, my parents' parents came here from Italy, and. But we're very blessed, and I wanted to make sure that my children recognized that and didn't take things for granted. So giving back is an important thing. That was before it became a requirement in a lot of the schools to have public service, but we definitely did public service. That was a requirement in my household since they were little, and they would come with us on everything that we did. And when they got older, they would join and support whatever was important to them. And to this day, my boys are in their 20s. They do it now. So it's a good thing. It's a good philosophy.
It becomes a part of you. And it's interesting that you mentioned about reaching children as they're young. And then so as they evolve to adult, it becomes a part of their character. I find so often now we talk about it and we encourage people to do it. But if it's not really a part of your life, it's not something that your whole family gets around or your community gets around, it's easy to forget because our lives are good. I don't think people forget intentionally.
No, I don't think so either.
Right? It's because you have to live intentionally. You have to live intentionally to do good things. And so now schools support it, which is great. There's certainly lots of opportunities. Ours happens to be food. But there are many ways to give back. There's lots of, you find what you love, find what means something to you, and there's a way to do it. And I share with you about my children are active in this. My children are involved in it, and it's now become a part of them. They think of things, may not continue with Long Island Cares, though I hope it does, but they'll find something their way to channel some energy and to give to other folks.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And you're also what you're doing is you're creating memories, that family bond. There's a lot of benefits that come out for your family as well as the people who are in need. And thankfully we're not. And to give back, I think, is absolutely a necessity. I think we all should pay it forward, whatever that means for an individual. I know I know that it's a habit. You got to create a habit. We talk about this all the time, creating a habit in your life. And those habits have you showing up. And that's what I mean. I keep saying that. Show up for yourself. Show up for yourself. That's a way to show up for yourself, to give back to other people serving other people is what we're here to do. We're supposed to serve each other. And if we're fortunate, like you and I are, we need to definitely give back to our community, to things and topics and programs that are important to us, that resonate with us. And there are plenty of them, like you had indicated. So I love the way you said live intentionally. I'd love you to talk more about living intentionally. I think that's a really important element. It goes to habits as well. So we're talking about something, that connects everything that we talk about here at Healthy Lifestyle.
Living intentionally, or to be intentional, I think we do a lot of kind things that we probably don't realize. But if you begin to think, what's important to me? How am I going to express my good intentions? Then you make it your way of expressing yourself. You make it your way of living the vision that you have for yourself. And suddenly it doesn't become incidental or accidental. It becomes intentional. So a great example is, I remember back in the 80s, I was working in Manhattan, and there were a lot of folks that were looking for money. And the concern always was, if you give someone money,
what are they going to use it for?
Exactly.
Yep.
So a woman that I worked with had this great idea. She said, if you want to do something, go into a store and buy some food, bring it out to them. I thought that was such a wonderful idea, because I was able to do something. I was sure I wasn't contributing to a problem. And in a lot of ways, it was a way for me to do something and help. And I wanted to help. So that became my thing. And I took my children into the city, and they watched me do it one time. They were impressed, and I felt so great. My son got his job, and he's working in Manhattan now. And along the way, he met someone, and he did the exact same thing. All he did was see the example. So just being intentional, doing that. So somebody tells me something really good, I intentionally use it to express the way that I want to help out. And I impressed my son. So I have that woman to thank for giving me such a great idea. And hopefully it continues to share so other people can take advantage.
Yeah, I love that, because words and actions combined are truth. So you showed through truth. You would say it to your children, but you showed it through the actions. And that's a beautiful, generous, kind thing. And it's not a ticker tape parade. People aren't going to pat you on the back, but you're going to feel nice and warm inside. And then you're creating really good memories and habits for your children if they happen to be present when you do it. A lot of times when I do it, people aren't present. Other people aren't present, I should say. But it still gives me that warm feeling inside. So, and it's the little things. It doesn't have to be huge. You don't have to spend a lot of money. It's just a little thing. It's thoughtful. It's thinking about other people before you think about yourself. Again, that goes back to that live intentionally concept. And also that could be your habit. We talk about do a little something for yourself. Maybe that's your little something for yourself today, or one day a week. I know I was speaking to my friend Jay Oliver from 103.9 in the morning. He does the morning show. And we were talking about him doing a little something intentional and for himself. And he got himself that sandwich from the deli, sat down by the beach, remembered his grandmother. And that was something really nice. Just taking a few moments to help himself. And then he went out and continued to help others. So those living intentionally are great. I love the creating memories with our children. I know we have a tradition in my family, and those memories and traditions are really very deep seated. And some of it goes back to giving back to organizations like Long Island Cares, and some of it goes back to just creating those really good, happy childhood memories. And I'll never forget a comment one of my sons made to me once. I'd come home because I'm a singer, as you know, and I came home from a gig late at night. It was the day before Easter, and I was helping the bunny out, and had set some trails up for the bunny because he had sent me an email, said, "Hey, could you do this? I'm a little slammed this year," and we set this tradition of having Easter egg trails basically in the house for each of the boys. And when they got to older age, the Easter Bunny says, "Listen, I don't need your help anymore, so you don't have to do it." And that was great. So that year I didn't leave out the trail. And they would have this little bucket outside of their bedroom. So when they came out, they knew to pick up the bucket and they would follow their trail. And generally it ended up wherever the Easter Bunny decided to put their Easter basket. So with that said, this one year, I guess my oldest was 19 at the time, I didn't do it because Easter Bunny said, I'm good. And so I didn't do it. Well, that morning, my oldest son marched into my bedroom and said, what happened here? And I explained him the story, and he goes, oh, no, you don't understand. You're going to do this when I live in my own house with my own family. You're going to need to visit me and do the same trail. So to me, that said a number of things. One, they recognized the tradition and the habit. They enjoyed it, and it made a really good memory. So I love doing things like that. Do you do things like that with your family?
We do, and the great part of that is that you captured is the fact that you don't realize the impact that it has or how much they really enjoy that. And it could be the simplest little thing that you did as a family, the most important thing you did as a family. It doesn't make a difference. They remember those patterns. And frankly, those traditions are really what make us who we are. And at some point, and I think that's the best part of this, when you start to share those traditions with others, with your friends who may not have had that tradition, or as people go on, they get married and they share it with the other family that's fortunate now you're all joining together as a bigger family, that really starts to make it flourish because traditions are what draw us together. Good things that really we celebrate, we're happy about. I remember all too often, Sunday morning has always, or not Sunday, but Christmas morning has always been exciting. But there was something that we used to do where the night before Christmas, on Christmas Eve, after everyone left, we would open one gift each.
We do that too.
It's really great. It's kind of that little tease, that little peek, right? So we weren't going to do this a couple of years ago. My kids are older now. And so my wife and I said, we'll just hit, the sack and everybody will get up tomorrow. They kind of looked, it was like, well, but we always do that one gift. It's just us. And it was so interesting to see that. I mean, this is part of who we are and what we do. So we did it, and it meant a lot because it meant a lot to them now.
Yeah.
We always did it because we thought we were doing it. It was that special little thing. But now it was that special little thing to them. And it really starts to resonate with you as you start to see it coming back, as you did with your son,
yes.
as we've seen it. And I think that's when you recognize, wow, all the years and all the energy that you put in, the wonderful part of your kids is watching them inculcate that now. It's part of their lives and watching them take it forward.
Yeah, that's so true. We are here on Healthy Lifestyle on Long Island News Radio 103.9. I am Lori Anne Casdia, and we are speaking with Vince Perratta. And we were just talking about traditions, something that's near and dear also to my heart. And you're right, it does resonate so deeply with them. And I just remember the feeling I got when he said that, because it was just, I had a, oh my goodness moment, because I really never recognized that I was setting a tradition of my own. We were setting a tradition, and it wasn't intentional, but we had done it year over year, and it became something that they had come to expect and desire. And like your family with the opening the one gifts, we do the same exact thing. Same exact thing. We finished putting out the cookies for Santa, the food for the reindeer, and then everybody's like, okay, which one? So it's a good tradition. I love tradition. What other traditions do you have in your family?
Well, I come from a European background, so we had lots of little special things, but there was one thing that stands in my mind. I'm named for my grandfather, and that always, I was very close to my grandfather. Obviously, he's gone now, but I remember when I was a boy, there was a special parade that used to occur once a year in his community. He grew up in a community in Italy, and then when he came to the United States, he settled into this little Italian enclave, and they would have the patron saint of that community. They would have a big parade every year. And when I got to 11 years old, I was big enough and old enough to carry one of the banners for the saint. You would have thought that I had accomplished the greatest thing in the world. My grandfather was so excited. And after that, I just continued because it meant a lot to him.
Yeah.
And, he would tell everybody that, Vincent's going to be doing this. He's in the parade, and he would invite people to come see
Proud
it.
moment for Grandpa.
Yeah. And the thing is, it was also a great moment for me. After he left and, obviously passed on, I wanted something to remember him. And it's funny when you lose someone very close to you, You want something that reminds you of those times.
Yes.
And so I have a silly thing, but after everything that we did, we always went back for a meal. Kind of goes to my charity, right?
Yeah,
Let's eat.
Okay. Eating, that's what we do.
It's what we do. So we would go back to the house, and my grandfather had this little paring knife, and he would really perfectly pare an apple, all just with this little paring.
After the meal.
After the meal.
Yeah.
And we would have that as part of dessert, because you always finish with some fruit. And I wanted that knife because, and this thing is practically a nub now, but it is still in my home. It is in my kitchen, but it gives me a chance to remember him, not infrequently, because every time I go to the counter, I go to grab a knife or a fork, I remember my grandfather. And I can't tell you how warm it makes me feel, because he's still alive because of that in me. I remember everything. So those things, those traditions, they really carry us as we go forward.
Yeah, that reminds me of a story of an item that both my parents are passed now, and my dad had this great love of Don Quixote. And I'll never forget this wooden Don Quixote that stood in the dining room, and he loved this wooden statue. The value was nothing, $12 worth of wood maybe. And I got to tell you, if you see it, it has more glue on it than I think, at this point, because it's been broken. I think we knocked it over. It got in the way of, an inside skeeting. Remember how you used to skeet on your kitchen floors in the socks?
Yes, I do. Slide.
Yeah, I think we slid into it and knocked it down and
which
broke it
was the
again.
original electric slide, for anybody who remembers.
Really? Oh my gosh, you just aged yourself, dude. So I remember, and that's something that was really important to me, because I knew how important it was to him and what it meant to him and what it signified. And that to me was so important to have. And I have it in my house, in between my den and my living room, leaning against the wall, standing there majestically and reminding me of Dad every time I see it, and reminding me of the values that he saw in that particular character. So, so imagination was really big for my dad. And so I understand what you say when you talk about the paring knife. It does. It brings back really vivid memories. It
reflects the things that, you so remember of those moments and those people, and they were special, and they were in your life, or they were in your life in a way that no one else really was. People occupy this great space in your life, and each person really is different. So grandparents, parents, sometimes a really good friend, to have something that you just remember, that just reminds you. And I have a really good friend that I went to college with, and I just remember.
Really? You had a friend?
Just one.
Okay, good for you. I'm so proud.
Yeah, my mother and father sent him a check. So.
I was going to say, did the checks bounce? Apparently not.
But...
Just joking. I'm sorry. So
no,
your friend
fine.
from college.
So my therapist helped me through this. So I'm doing okay now.
I send her checks now.
So my one friend in college, but if he ate jelly rings, which was this stupid little can. Oh,
sure.
Okay.
Jelly rings. Yeah. Listen, I grew up in Dix Hills. I know jelly rings.
Did they have those in Dix Hills?
Oh, for goodness sakes, yes.
Somebody must have delivered them to
really?
Dix Hills.
We're going to do this?
In my neighborhood, we had to buy them.
We're going to go down that road, huh?
Go down that road. It's the greatest.
Back to your story.
So we're taking our jelly rings, and he has these jelly rings, and he just gets goofy and hysterical. And this is a guy who's super bright, very little speaking. 12 words give you the whole day. Sure. That's it. He eats these jelly rings. He goes crazy. Every time I see a jelly ring, I can't help but crack up, because I remember the days when we were in college. He would eat these things, and there were three of us that used to commute together, and we would just laugh like crazy. So he has a little drugstore in Bethpage that he's been in the community forever. He's just a fixture and an icon. So I will once in a great while stop by, and little jelly rings kind of resonate, and I'll bring them in, and he doesn't even have to know what's in the box, because he knows what's coming, and he'll start to laugh. But it kind of keeps us connected. I mean, college was over 30 years ago.
Sure.
But it's, again, that was that little thing that resonated, that tradition that we had when he used to go get those and, just start carrying on. It was fun.
Yeah, no, that's really great stuff. And everybody who comes in our life is part of our, what I refer to as our life tapestry. And I love when I'm a thread, and I love when I'm a a big portion of it, whatever the case may be. But everybody who comes and goes in our life or is still in our life is part of our tapestry and who we are. So I love that story. That's a wonderful thing. So like you, Vince. You are listening to Healthy Lifestyle. I'm Lori Anne Casdia. We're here with Vince Perratta, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Healthy Lifestyle. I'm Lori Anne, and if you have any questions, comments, or ideas on topics you'd like to hear more about, please email us at healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com or follow us on social media at Healthy Lifestyle with LA. Follow us, like us, and we'll get you more information about all of our topics, our upcoming guests, and we can definitely connect you with guests that we've had before. We are here with Vince Perratta, who is definitely in the financial business, but prior to that, establishing that business, Vince was a corporate mentor, and I'd like to talk more about that with you, Vince. So how are you? I almost called you corporate.
That's okay. Good afternoon.
Sometimes you are just corporate, and we have to tone that back, dude. So you were a corporate mentor, still are a corporate mentor.
Now I do it as volunteer, but I was part of a Fortune 500 corporation for a long time. And one of the things we were trying to do is build our bench strength, where we have a number of assignments, leadership positions, and how do we help to build the skill sets in people that they need in order to walk into a job and have the ability to be functional and effective. And it goes beyond that too, because what it also does is it helps you to realize that you can develop skill sets. You may not have them inherently, but you have the ability to learn. You can take examples and experiences and put those together to put you in a place where you can be successful at a higher level. And it was really fun to do because you get to reflect on your mistakes more than your accomplishments and say, how can I help someone else?
Yeah, no, that's a great thing. I too mentor, but I do it through marketing strategy, and we actually end up being, yes, I said actually end up going down the route of mentoring, because when you're setting a strategy, you do end up looking at large pictures and moving back. And I've always been a proponent that although we need to celebrate our successes, we need to look at what one might refer to as a failure, although I don't look at failures as failures. I look at them as opportunities to make them our strengths. So we look back at that and we see what the lesson is. And if we don't, no worries, it'll come back around. We'll learn it again we'll have it again until we learn it correctly. But I know when I deal with people and I select people that I work with, they have to have a fire in their belly and a desire to learn. We can teach them everything else, right? But the fire in the belly, you can't teach somebody. You got to have that willingness, right?
It's absolutely true. And that's so important. What you just pointed out is probably the most critical thing to look for. You could take an individual that doesn't have the skill sets. However, you can teach them the skill sets if they have desire, if they have drive, if they have a personal, sense of, I want to achieve and succeed. But you can take someone who has all of the skill sets but doesn't have the desire and the drive, the results orientation. And what you find is, more often than not, they do not succeed to nearly the extent that you do with the folks that have that heart. You can't teach heart, the old expression, right? And you really can't. There was a battery of work done years and years ago, and it was the number one thing that was said as you're coaching people and you're looking for folks that you're going to help. Evaluate if they have heart, and if they do, you're in a great place. That's at least giving yourself the greatest opportunity, the most fertile ground to make that person successful. Absolutely.
Yeah. But the key to corporate mentorship or mentorship of any kind is also whoever you're mentoring, they have to show up as much as you do. So they have to show up. They have to do the work. We can't do it for you. They actually have to do it. Did you ever run into any situations where the people you were mentoring were just not moving forward? They just weren't taking the direction.
Yes, you come across that, unfortunately, and then you begin to realize that you're chasing them. Because when you're a mentor, what you find, I'm sure you've seen this with what you do, you get invested in the people that you mentor.
Yeah.
And so you begin to take a personal interest in making sure that they're thinking things through, asking the right questions, putting in the right time and in the right places. And every once in a while, you would connect with someone that didn't have that. And like you were saying, you can't chase them. You can't make them, because right there, you've already told yourself this is not the right path.
Right. Yeah. And it's not our job to chase. It's not our job to do their work. It's our job to help guide them through the process, because we've seen it. We know how it's going. We know which direction they should go in, and give them choices. But at the end of the day, it's a choice. Like, it's a choice to have a good day. It's a choice to have a bad day. It's choice to be happy, and it's a choice to choose to be unhappy. So, and choose gratitude. And so everything is a choice. And if they're not willing to make that choice, then I move on to the next person. So actually, I got into mentoring because my mentor really recommended it. But like me, I watched him get and both of them, there was a woman and a male, that were very germane to mentoring me and successes that I've had in my lifetime. And they both got very involved as far as how I was successful, but they didn't own what I was successful at. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And we've had discussion about these folks. I know a little about them, but more importantly, I know the role that they played and the way you speak about them. So they inspired you.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that lives on in you, and you still remember them quite fondly, I'm sure. And you probably could take some of the lessons, if you think about the things that they taught you, still applicable today.
Every day.
There you go. So it's amazing how these people can, really guide you in a way that you rely on those lessons and those thoughts, and they guide you so effectively.
Well, that's why I really encourage people to get a mentor. You need somebody to bounce things off of. You need someone to give you that encouragement. When mom and dad passed away, a huge gap occurred because dad and my mom were my mentors. I would always go there. I would always pick up the phone. I didn't have anybody to pick up the phone and bounce something off of. Or just sometimes you just wanted to get it out, and It was a safe environment. And that's the role that my mentors started to take. That's how it actually started and began. And then I noticed that they were guiding me, and there were days they were really direct, and I appreciate every second of them being direct. They didn't couch it. They didn't make it pretty. They didn't make it fuzzy and wrap it up in a bow. They came right at me and told me what it was, and I really respect that. I appreciate that. I am so grateful that they gave me those lessons, and it came from them in an environment where it was safe, as opposed to me learning it by tripping over my own feet.
Right.
And that was, I think, a great gift. Not only the inspiration, but they helped me see, and perhaps, if I execute it properly, avoid tripping over my own feet as a result of their guidance. I know you've done that. I know that you have mentored women, significant amount of women.
I have. I've had the opportunity, again, because of my previous career, to work with a number of women. And the first woman I ever worked with was the most interesting. I took over a new assignment. I went down to work with this lady who I was friends with. And now I'm thinking, this is great. I'm, going to be working with my friend, even though I run this team she's on, I'm going to be able to work with her. And I get in the car, and as soon as I close the door, she is just on me, and she's angry, and there's a whole lot of stuff going on. So we talk it out, and I ask her.
Was she angry? Because she wasn't.
It was a situation where she's in a corporate situation that she is clearly moving herself out of the corporate culture. She's moving herself out of that promotable scale because she didn't like things that were happening. She wasn't dealing with them well. Not a critique, just an observation.
Understood.
And because of that, she's letting anger drive her thinking process instead of the objectivity that you need.
Yes, we speak about that a lot here on our program. Ego versus your observer.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's no ego in business. It's just, this is.
Say that again.
There's no ego in business.
That's right.
There's just facts.
There should not be.
There should not be. but we're human. So that's why having a mentor, somebody that you can go to, like you were saying before, to be able to share, I'm frustrated about this. Great. Get it out. Talk it out.
Right.
Let that person help diffuse it. And that's actually what happened with us. I was able to diffuse this. And I asked her not to do something, but instead to allow me to do something. I said, give me an opportunity to get my arms around this business. Give me a chance to reacquaint myself with you. And I give you my commitment. If you do your job, I will find a way and help you, and we'll achieve your goal. I'll commit to it just like you. And we did. We started, and there were things that I had her doing, and it was kind of funny. After a while, she said, I've never worked harder, but I've never been happier.
Yeah.
I said, well, that's great, because then we're going the right pathway. She ends up with an opportunity for a leadership role. And because of my mentor, I went to bat for her, tried to get her the interview, and I was being shot down because I was the young kid. But my mentor said, if this guy is telling you we should see her, we should. She interviewed, didn't get the job, but it was the best thing that ever happened to her, because not getting the job, everyone said, this woman is tremendously talented. We need to invest our time and money in her. And it ended up, she moved up 2 levels. She was very successful. And it was fun to watch her grow and thrive, where she previously used to get frustrated. She found the pathway, like, I can function within a corporate culture, learn the lay of the land, observe what I need to observe, and then do what I need to do.
That's a great, great story and great example of the use of having a mentor, the necessity of having a mentor. But for that, she probably would have ended up leaving corporate America, and corporate America would have lost a huge talent. You are listening to Healthy Lifestyle on Long Island News Radio 103.9. I am Lori Anne Casdia, and we are speaking to Vince Perratta. We're speaking about mentoring. And in that story, I it doesn't elude me that that we took someone who had a very negative attitude, negative mindset for whatever reasons, and justifiable to them, no doubt, turned their perspective, got them looking with a different camera lens, and look at the success that resolved, because she was coming at it with more positivity. And again, we talk about this on the show all the time, how that positive energy elevates. Our energy connects with other energy. People wanted to be around her. Those same people who were going to bat for her after the fact were not going to bat for her before, because they didn't like that energy. It was negative. It was pushing them away. She wasn't welcoming them. And through your mentorship and guidance and her listening and showing up for herself, that's a success story that is wonderful to hear. I love that.
It was a great experience, and it taught me a lot about trust. I had to assure her. I had to gain her trust. And she didn't give it to me just for that 5 minutes in the car where we had this discussion. She gave it to me because of behaviors I exhibited over time, demonstrating I was committed to her. She could trust me, and I would guide her in things. And there were things that, at times, let me play this back to you. This is what you told me you wanted to do. Is there something else that we can think of? Is there a better reaction here? Is there another course of action we can take? Or is there a different strategy you want to exercise? And just by virtue of being able to talk together, she would self-correct. And that's what a mentor does. It enables you to self-correct by asking you those questions, the hard questions somebody else either doesn't know or may not be asking you. And so because of that, you're kind of a little astray, almost like a ship on the ocean without a direction.
Yeah.
And you need that rudder, and a mentor can be that rudder that guides you. Yes, we kind of go a little left and a little right. I use the analogy of the bowling alley. You put the bumpers in the lanes, and I'm the bumpers. Got to keep you in the lane.
I prefer duck pin bowling, but that's another conversation. A lot of people don't even know what that is. It's something that they primarily play up in New England, but that's a lot more fun, and you don't have to worry about gutters. So, right. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. And in a lot of industries, in this particular type of relationship, the mentor-mentee relationship, trust is very important, but you don't just automatically get it. And if there's any anticipation of giving immediate trust or getting immediate trust, that's not really going to work either, because it's not true and it's not in depth. You earn it. And through the time of mentoring, don't you find that you earn a little bit more, and you give a little bit more trust, because we also have to trust the people that we're mentoring, that we have to trust that they're telling us everything. We have to trust that they're executing the way they say that they're executing, because we're not in there every day. We're not in their building. We're not sitting on their desks. We're having conversations with them, sometimes over the phone, sometimes over the internet, sometimes in person, but giving them that guidance throughout. So it's definitely a two-way street. Do you find that?
Without equivocation, it is a two-way street.
Ooh, equivocation, SAT word. Can check that off your list. You used it.
I got to use it once. But it's true. You do build that trust over time, and it's reciprocal.
Should we give people a chance to look into the thesaurus? What is that?
Everybody's typing it into Google right now.
Really? Google me this word, Google.
EQU.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. While I'm Googling it right now, go ahead. No, go ahead.
So people are building that trust with you, and I think what you find too is you begin to have an interest and an expectation of your mentor.
Yes.
That they're going to tell, I want to hear the thing that I'm going astray on. All of a sudden, you're not afraid to hear the rough stuff and the important things.
Yes. And don't you find that they already know what you're going to say after a while when you work long enough to each other? They're like, I know. I should have done this. I should have done. And that's when we know we have successfully guided and can continue from there, right?
Right. And you can ask them to, okay, so if you know, then let's take a step back. Because the greatest value of our conversation right now is let's talk about why you didn't self-correct. And they start to get it. And then all of a sudden, the expression that I always remember is businesses and corporations, they don't take risk, they mitigate it. Because if there's a lot of risk, they're going to avoid that.
Right.
We look for the lowest level of risk.
Sure.
And how can we continue to reduce it? And when we've got it to our lowest level, we ask, is there anything else anyway? And by doing that in your career, by lowering the risk, take the path that's appropriate, that's the smart path. No unforced errors, because there are unforced errors.
Now, there's a very pickly line here that we're talking about, is take the path. You had said before, take the path that's
the lowest level of risk.
But that doesn't mean we're not risk takers.
No, those are mutually exclusive things, right? So you do take risk. You choose the risk. Okay, this is a good venture. There's some risk here. We may not be successful. How do we minimize the possibility that we will fail? You may still fail. That's part of taking risk. But how do we minimize? And if you think about all the things that you can minimize, anytime you go on you take an endeavor and you're going after it, you can reduce that risk and lower what you need to do. Without a doubt.
You had said self-correct. Help define that for our listeners. Self-correct. We use it a lot, and I'm like, yeah, of course. Help our listeners understand self-correct.
So self-correct is that time that after a while, the best mentor for yourself is yourself. You sit quietly after something goes a little sideways, or hopefully before, but even if something did go sideways, you sit quietly for a minute. You begin to ask yourself, okay, how did this go sideways? What kinds of decisions did I make? What was in my control that I let get out of my control, or I chose a pathway that was probably less productive or not the most advantageous direction? And then you think about, how can I get this back on track, or how can I fix this? Because sometimes, unfortunately, things break down. So you look and you begin to ask yourself the questions that you know your mentor would have, because at a certain point, the value of the mentor is to teach you to think, is to teach you to ask the questions. Then hopefully, not that you don't need a mentor. It's always great to have that. I don't care what you do, but you can go forward and do it for someone else. And then you actually become a better mentor for yourself.
Exactly. It's a very fulfilling thing to do, and it's helping other people and utilizing our experiences in the past to help them also get over some of the hurdles that they may reach themselves. I would love to continue this conversation another time. Would love to have you back.
Thank you. I'd love that.
That would be great. I appreciate this is a very thoughtful conversation, and I think very helpful for everyone who's listening. And I want to thank you all for joining us today on Healthy Lifestyle. My heart is always lifted by sharing this time with you. I want to thank Vince for being on today. And always, I want to thank Brian in the booth. He's awesome. In the meantime, follow us and send us comments and compliments to us on social media at Healthy Lifestyle with LA. If you miss any interviews or would like to hear some previous interviews, look for us on SoundCloud at Healthy Lifestyle. And remember, do a little something for yourself every day. Maybe it's listening to this show, and thank you for that. It starts there for doing something for yourself. It doesn't have to be big, but definitely take a moment to do something for yourself. Create the habit, create the new balance for yourself. And I want to thank you, as always, for joining us on Healthy Lifestyle. I'm Lori Anne Casdia. And until next time, show up for you and show up big.